Thank you for tuning into Zim News Beat TV with Robert Tapfumani.
For being here, Bishop Tudor Bismarck. Thank you so much, Dr. Chirisa. Thank you, Hope. Thank you so much, and everyone else who's made time to come. I know that a Thursday morning is a very busy morning, and everybody has got a lot of things that they could be doing with their time. But for you to have, taken time to come here to talk about positive connections and give us the space, we are truly grateful and thankful for that. So I'm going to just give you a brief overview of positive connections and the reason why we are here, so that you have a sense and an idea of the initiative that we've been working on. And as Tino has said, it's been going on for about 2.5 years, and we've been looking at saying, as the president has always said, we are the people who build our own nation. A lot of the times we are looking, for the government, or we're looking for somebody else to come and save and rescue us. But we need to find that sometimes no one is coming to cover that space. And because no one is coming to cover that space, we have to cover that space and become the people that create the change that we want to see. And so this is at the foundation of Positive Connections, because it's been created by mental health professionals and adolescents and young people with lived experience of mental health and HIV. And when we started just focusing on adolescents living with HIV, they were our focus. So as we go through the slides, and I'm hoping technology will be kind to us and sort of show us, thank you very much. So basically, Positive Connections is a Zimbabwean-based youth organization. And as I've mentioned, that's been created by young people with lived experience and also mental health professionals right here in Zimbabwe. And our goal is to help young people find the superhero within. We always talk about, challenges and adversity, and we say if you faint in the day of adversity, then your strength is little. But we find that with the young people that we are working with, a lot of them have got a lot of inner strength, positive attributes that they have that help them to live and survive on a daily basis. But because of mental health and other challenges that they are facing, they find it very difficult to find the superhero within or to find the strength that is within. And so Positive Connections just has an ethos of finding the superhero within, and it helps with self-discovery. So our mission is that all young people experiencing mental health in Zimbabwe and Southern Africa get the mental health support and services that they need. So we are saying that the problems that Zimbabwe is facing are not just a Zimbabwe problem. Even Southern Africa has similar problems. So the shortages that Tino was talking about, they are not just a Zimbabwe issue, they're a regional issue. And if we develop something that can support Zimbabwe, it can also support Southern Africa and the region. So our mission, we aim to implement support tools for young people that are developed by young people and that are implemented by young people. And you will see as we go through, and we show you more about our work, that this is the way that we've done it and this is how we've created the app. So why did we do this? Tino has already touched on some of this, and he spoke about the mental health crisis in Zimbabwe. And our statistics are such that, 40% of our community and people that we live with have got, okay, it's responding to the 40%. Right, 40% of our people are struggling with common mental health conditions. And so what's that? That's our depression, our anxiety, our substance use disorders, and our psychosis. So all these people that are hearing voices and seeing things, 40%. And we are finding that, for every 4 people out of 10 that come to a space, and so we can count, we have mental health conditions, but we don't know that we have them. And those are sort of the challenges that we're having. And we find that mental illness a lot of the time starts from, young people. And young people are mostly affected by mental health challenges, and you can even say more than, adults themselves. So we have a high prevalence of suicide, 26.9 around men, for men. And men are killing themselves more than women. and we always talk about how, women talk, they share what's going on with them, but men don't usually share. And we are finding lots more that you're being told, oh, there was this man who was standing on top of this tower light and he wanted to jump, and all of those kind of things. These are things that are happening within our community and our society, and that's sort of the challenge that we have. And we've got about 9.7% of women also thinking about trying to commit suicide, and about 84.4% for every 100,000 for older people that are trying to commit suicide or that have suicidal thoughts and are thinking about dying. So this crisis is there, and we are calling mental health the new pandemic. And it's not just in Zimbabwe, but globally, it is the new pandemic. So we then find that how many service providers do we have? 19 psychiatrists, 35 psychologists, 956 mental health nurses, 105 occupational therapists for a population about 15 to 17 million. So it's a drop in the ocean, and which means that a lot of us, like Tino said, do not then have access, to mental health support. And we started particularly with adolescents and young people living with HIV. We developed this program initially for them because 80% of young people living with HIV are in Southern Africa. So 37 million people, 38 million people in the world, and 80% of them are in Southern Africa. Right? And then we find that, in Zimbabwe, our prevalence for HIV is 13.8%, and that's come down, but it's still very high. And we find that every minute, one young woman is infected by HIV, and 30% of all new HIV infections in Zimbabwe are young people between 15 to 24. And women are mostly infected, or more infected or affected than men. And we found that 30% of adults were sort of doing better on treatment. AIDS-related deaths were reducing amongst adults, but AIDS-related deaths were continuing to rise among adolescents and young people. 48% of young people that were living with HIV were dying simply because they stopped taking their medication because of shame and stigma, and then they would commit what they called slow suicide. So they were dying because they had no mental health support. And when we looked at the interventions that were there were very few that were really targeting and looking at the mental health support that they needed. And when speaking with young people, you then found that the young people would say that, you go to the healthcare facility and they tell you that you're HIV positive, a lot of it mother-to-child transmission, and then they say, there's nothing different about you. You're going to be fine and everything is going to be okay. And that is the end of it. There is nothing else that you then get in terms of support and around your mental health in terms of acceptance and all of those things that then led to this crisis that we started working on. And in building up, to building this intervention, we then did formative research on experiences of shame for adolescents living with HIV. With our adages that we use here in Zimbabwe, we say, "Nyadzi dzinokunda rufu," shame surpasses death. So we find that a lot of our young people who are living with HIV felt ashamed of having HIV. And from the themes that we came out from the formative research, we found out that the causes of shame was the issues of sex and how HIV is spread through sex. So everybody then says it's a disease of immorality. And so if you've got a disease of immorality, then you ought to be ashamed. And therefore, if shame surpasses death, then dying is better than being ashamed. We then found out that exactly their body changes if they had pimples or any body changes or reactions, skin rashes that would show that they might be infected. That made them ashamed, and it made them disconnect from services. It also issues of medication. If they had medication in their bag, some of them would say, I don't go to a church camp or any other place because if I spend time around other people, they open my bag and then they see I've got HIV medication in my bag, then my life is over and no one is going to accept me, love me, or take care of me. So even the sound that pills made in their bags, they say they called it hosho. So they'd say, if pills are in your bag and they are rattling, your friends are going to ask you, why is there a rattling sound in your bag? And those were things that made them feel ashamed and felt like, I can't, take this medication. And then they also had issues around family rejection. And for a lot of them, we find that within our communities, if this is a disease of sexual immorality, the community community itself will shame people, and we're a community that shames people, as a way of social control. Are you not ashamed of yourself? And that works as social control, but it also works as a deterrent to services. And it then makes people feel bad and makes them feel that they're not good enough. And what's worse was mother-to-child transmission was then spoken of in the sense that, someone would say, your mother was in the business of bringing HIV here. So this is a child that's being looked after by the extended family, but the extended family is telling them about, the scar or the fault of their mom or their dad that made it difficult. Some would even say, Vongai, when you go to school, and then some other child says, you look like this one. And then you're like, no, I don't look like them, Then they start saying, no, you must ask your father, because you know what, you guys look alike. And then later on, when people are then tracing the history of life, you then find that, it is your brother from another mother, and your parents were HIV positive, and the stigma that was on your parents for their behavior has become a challenge for you, and you're the one who's sort of paying the price, the sins of the fathers. So we found out those were sort of some of the causes of shame. And then the reactions became secrecy. They wanted to be secretive about being positive. They withdrew from any form of social engagement and interaction. There was avoidance of care, and there was all issues of anger in terms of fault and blame. So there was fault, it's my parent who did this. And so it meant that if they had sexually acquired HIV, they would have been even more ashamed, about then living with it. You then found that, they started having negative beliefs. They started saying of themselves, I'm dirty, I'm dangerous, I'm unlovable, I'm worthless, I'm incompetent, etc. And then this led to delayed diagnosis, poor adherence to medication, as I've already mentioned, and then poor retention and engagement with services and mental health. So this was sort of the formative work that then led us to then think about developing a digital mental health intervention that then supports them from the privacy of their homes, addressing and dealing with these challenges that were making it difficult for them to access care, and that was making it difficult for them to continue living as a result of this. And so we partnered with the Royal College of Surgeons, which sort of then helped us to frame the work that we were doing. Our formative work, we wrote that up, we published a paper, and then we also did a systematic review on digital mental health interventions to see, how do they work, what happens when, try to put them together so that we would be informed in the way that we were doing things. We are also doing a lot more studies to then see, its effectiveness and all of those things, which are things that are on the way. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so our solution, was what I've mentioned, the digital mental health intervention that's a hybrid of in-person and online care. So we offer, individual and group support, and we use storytelling and the superhero metaphor to talk about, mental health issues and mental health challenges in a way that children and adolescents can understand. So, we also use training and capacity building, and then we also do advocacy and awareness raising to try and help people understand. Let's go to the next slide. So what we are showing right now is the front end of the Positive Connections app. So the black one that's on the second part is our landing page. So when you go to Google Play Store or Apple App Store, which we're working on uploading and fully launching, you will get, that picture there that will show you, that you've gotten the Positive Connections app. And then what then happens is that you log in with your details, which is an email and a password. And then it allows you to verify your credentials, and it also allows you to create a secure account that no one can access and that no one can actually tamper with, so that your personal data that you put into into the application is not seen by anyone, and the data is secure. And then you then go to the dashboard, which then shows you, our interventions, our workbook, our messages, our feedback loop, where you can go in and share your feedback if there's anything you want us to do. We also have a part for bookings, for referrals, so that you can be able to book an appointment with our counselors, and you can also be referred to other practitioners. So the application has contacts and information of other practitioners that offer mental health support and physical health support for adolescents and young people, sexual reproductive health rights, and all of those things that can also be necessary for young people that want to use it. Right, so the application also has a back-end function. So the back-end function is where we host our counselors, and our counselors then support the work of young people that they do in the front end. So our counselors read young people's workbooks, and then they also work on responses. They give them individual counseling sessions, and then they also support them with group sessions on the app. And it's quite similar to the front end of the app, because everything that's on the front end is able to be accessed by our counselors on the back end. Okay. Right. So how it works simply is that you join, you download the application, and from Google and Apple app stores, and the download of the application is free. And then you log in using your email address and your password. You use a display or pseudonym. So what we've decided is that instead of somebody joining with their actual name, to avoid issues of stigma and shame, they create a display name. So someone can be called Black Rose, or someone can be called Max, whatever they want to say, or however they want to put themselves across. And then they read and agree to our privacy policy terms and conditions, and then they are able to register. What we've also done is that, people that are using the app cannot actually communicate to each other as individuals on a one-on-one basis, because our app is not yet in a space where we can monitor, conversations between users. So we're trying to avoid an issue of adolescents and young people being abused or being bullied on the application. So all the young people can have private messages from their counselor to them, from them to the counselor, but not across to each other. Where they can talk and when they can interact is in the group sessions, where in the group settings, our group sessions are facilitated by counselors. So we have a level of oversight and control over, what's said, so that we protect our young people from any form of cyberbullying or anything that might be untoward, that might affect them. So our PK intervention, it's structured as a story. And the story is called The Birthing of a Superhero. So remember what I said right at the beginning, we help young people find the superhero within, and we want them to process and work through difficult things related to mental health and HIV, but through a superhero metaphor. And so we're saying they are heroes that are not sure, that don't know of their superhero status. And the process of going through PK and working through PK allows them to discover the superhero within. So we're calling it The Birthing of a Superhero. It has 10 chapters. So these 10 chapters help an adolescent or young person go through the process of dealing with their mental health challenges. And the 10 chapters are made up of stories that they watch a small little video clip that shows them a superhero doing something. And I hope we can be able to do a demonstration at some point or at the end of this conversation, so that you can just have a feel of how it works and what's inside. So they watch a little video, and then that video leads them to a story that talks about what was in the video, and that also links to the mental health issue that they will be dealing with. We've used the superhero metaphor because it's like storytelling, ngano. We remember folklores or folk stories or parables are things that have got hidden meanings, that talk about deep things, and that allow us to then share with our young people deep thoughts on mental health, deep thoughts on HIV, and then help them to then think about those things and reflect on those things in a deep way that enables them to address, mental health challenges. They're easy to understand, they've got a visual depiction, and also they help them to see, things that they might not have language for, and be able to talk about them. And that makes us have, a very deep and rich way of exploring mental health and HIV related issues. So when they watch the video, read a story, we ask them to journal in a Positive Connections workbook, which is structured and has questions that helps them to reflect on the story and the video that they have seen. And they share their experiences in a private way in that workbook and that journal. And what happens there is they can write their thoughts and feelings, or they can record their thoughts and feelings like as an audio, so that the counselor who's on the back end will read what they would have put in their journal or listen to their recording, and then have a good interactive counseling session with them based on the issue that they would be talking about at that particular moment. And then what then happens after that is, after they have their individual session, they have a group session with their peers to talk about the different issues or the different aspects that they would have been discussing in the weekly story and in the weekly video. We found out that when we do this, there's a lot of rich engagement, and young people then get a lot of help and support, and they are healed or helped to deal with their mental health challenges. Okay. So this is just a snippet of our mental health intervention, where we've got 36 video clips, 36 short stories, 36 workbook entries, 36 individual counseling sessions, and 36 group sessions. So this goes over a 9-month period, where every week they are getting a little video, a story, a counseling session, and then they do a group session with peers to talk about their issues and get rich support. So the HIV intervention is structured as such. Like we said, there are 10 chapters. The first one is the beginning, where we get to know each other. The second one is, interrupted by adversity, which just looks at how did one get infected by HIV. The third one is in the ring with death, reactions to HIV infection. And then number 4, we talk about know your enemy, where we are, sharing with them stories of how the supervillain HIV attacked their lives and went into their space. And, it's got biological warfare, it's got relational warfare, it's got social warfare, it's got sexual warfare, it's got, many types of warfare that it uses to attack them. And then in chapter 5, it's the space of self-discovery, where we are asking them, how did you withstand, the battle of the supervillain HIV? There must be something inside of you that makes you super or different, that's made you withstand this attack. And so we help them to discover themselves. When they discover themselves as superheroes, we then go to chapter 6, which is a disclosure chapter, where we start talking about, you find out that you are super. How are you going to tell people? How do you deal with the issues of sharing, your status and talking to other people about what's going on with you? And then in chapter 7, we start a preparation, which we've called Preparation and Comrades in Arms, where we are talking about switching the script from victim to victor. All this while, HIV has been on your case, it's been fighting with you, it's been trying to break you down. And then now we're saying, that you're super, you've been able to disclose. How then do you take the fight to the enemy? And then chapter 7, showdown. We are fighting with the supervillain to gain back territory that we didn't have. If it's our health, if it's our social life, it's our academic life, whatever, has been affected, we are taking it back. Chapter 9 is victory walking into the sunset. So we're talking about sharing success stories with others. And then chapter 10, we're talking about being a superhero for life. So once you're a super, you can never go back. You then become a superhero for life. And then we have explored other ways of sharing our message, because we realize that there's a huge gap in terms of services for adolescents and young people. And we also realized that not all our young people have got mobile phones and can be able to access data. In fact, one of the challenges that we were having as we were just working on the app and testing it is that if Google and technology obviously is constantly shifting, growing and changing, when we upgrade our phones, the app also upgrades, but sometimes our young people don't have phones that are compatible to the application. And so some of these challenges became a problem where the phone is there, it's smart, but it's not smart enough. So you'd find that we would then have challenges in terms of delivery and the young people actually accessing the service in the way that we would want them to. So we then decided that we could actually do paper versions of positive connections that could also help in certain spaces where our technology wouldn't be able to help us. And we started the development, our Positive Connections comic book, which, some of the graphic art that you can see right now is, our Positive Connections comic book that we are also producing and developing in order to us tell these stories in a different way and to have impact in a different way. Right? So what is the impact of the work that we've been doing? So far, we've supported 300 children. Most of them are from Zimbabwe. We've got a few from other countries. We've got a few from South Africa, from Kenya, from Rwanda, Uganda, from Botswana, and Mozambique that are on the app, that have been connected by our young people that are, part of the system to say, there's this cool thing that I found, would you like to be on it as well? So we've supported 300 children, and out of those 300, we've been able to retain about 81% of our young people that we've worked with. And then we've also assessed the work that we've done. We've done baseline, midline, and endline assessments to check the progress. So when they come in, what are their challenges and issues? And then when they use the Positive Connections application, how do they feel at the end of it? And then in the middle of using it, and then at the end of it. And what we found out is that we've had a decrease in depression by 76%, a decrease in anxiety by 67%, shame 64%, and self-stigma 68%. Right. Next slide, yes. Okay. And then we have also, qualitative sort of feedback from the young people where they would say, we never saw ourselves as superheroes. We saw ourselves as dirty, dangerous, unlovable, not good enough. But now, after using this app, this idea actually makes sense that we are superheroes. And we get into the ring with death and we fight with it every day. And there are no stuntmen, there are no stunt doubles. No one is taking the heavy blows. We are taking them directly and we are surviving. So there must be something good in us or special about us that's made us survive this, brutal attack. And then also you find that they started talking about the universal applicability of Positive Connections, where they said, oh, we know, yeah, it's great. You thought this was for HIV, but no, it's not just for HIV. It's for mental health broadly, because we started seeing things around our self-esteem. We started seeing issues around confidence building. It's mental health. It's not just HIV, and you need to move it from it being an app just for HIV. And this is what then started the process and the program of developing other interventions that look at substance abuse, anxiety, depression, and all other things that young people were, bringing up to say, this can also work to address these issues. And then we also saw an increase in value, in confidence and self-esteem, a decrease in shame and self-stigma, and then an increased desire to connect with others. So you find that, people will start talking about, I can go and I can meet with those people. I can get married. I can have relationships like everybody else, because truly there is nothing different with me. There's just a virus in my blood and nothing more. And then we also then found some testimonials where, in terms of medication adherence, someone says, I used to struggle a lot with taking my medication, but now I just feel like it's just one pill. And we'd gone through a process where we were showing them how, HIV can be like kryptonite, that affects Superman. But if we just remove the kryptonite, then he's going to be fine. And the medication helps to do that. It was such an easy way, using, cartoons and things that they watch all the time, that then helps them to understand, this is so simple and I can do it and I can take it. Some would say it's a cool app and, it helps me to de-stress. It helps me to take away, my stress and worries. Some would even say, it's it's entertaining too. When I'm bored, I just go online and then I watch some videos. And then after I watch some videos, I've got ideas of movies to watch. And then I go back to Netflix and then I watch this and then I watch that. And then, it makes sense and I'm entertained by it. Some would talk about, it increased value. I saw that I'm valuable in the world, which were some of the testimonials. And we'll hear some more from the young people that have used it. Okay, so some of our limitations and challenges is that obviously we've had, limitations in our financial resources and, to which has sort of affected, our full implementation and what we would have wanted to do. We've supported 300, but would have wanted to do more, and we still want to do more. And so our financial resources is something that has been a challenge for us. And the constant changes in technology also then means we have to update and upgrade the app a lot, and that with resource limitations can be a challenge. And then when we started, it's very difficult to have people trusting digital stuff, especially with their personal and private things. So enrollment was quite slow, but we had to work and figure out what would be the best ways to enroll. And we found that snowballing, when somebody introduces the app to somebody else, it became a lot better if they had a face, that they could relate with in terms of the app itself and what it does and all of that. It made it easier for them to feel safe and to enroll. And when we started, we were just supporting and helping. We didn't have a monitoring and evaluation framework, but we've since then grown and graduated, and we've developed a monitoring framework that works to then share our impact. So we learned some lessons around using and leveraging what you have in resource limited situations. So because of limited resources, we still were able to develop an app. We still were able to provide services because we were doing barter trading in some areas. We've got this product, you've got that product that we want. Can you please make the product we want, and we'll give you the product you don't have, and all of those kind of things. We had to be very creative about building it so that we could have the impact that we wanted to have in the community. And we also learned quite a lot. We had a mentorship support from an organization called AMBER, which is a global organization that supports small mental health interventions that are starting. And so that supported us quite a lot because it helped us to clarify our vision, to structure our intervention, to, seed funding, and also monitoring, all the frameworks and things that we're developing. All of that was work that we've done through mentorship. And us being here to launch today is the fruits or the results of that mentorship program that we went to. And we also learned that a client-centered approach works best. So when we, not a top-down approach, but a bottom-up, where you find that, at the heart and the core of all our interventions is people with lived experiences, young people with lived experiences who are developing the interventions and also implementing and supporting their peers. And then our hybrid of in-person and online support was such a powerful tool. When you meet the person first and then you then put them online, they have more trust, they stay more, they are retained, and all of those things were lessons that we learned. So our strategic value is that we are affordable as PK, and we are stigma-free care. We also are a hybrid model, so we can be scalable. We have in-person support, but we've got online support. And then we also want to reduce the burden on the public health system. And so we'd like to partner to reduce that burden. And we align with the SDGs on health and well-being and also care for young people. So our cost comparison. So we think that PK is a smart investment. Why is PK a smart investment? Because, if you think about mental health services in Zimbabwe, for you to see a psychologist, I'll do psychology because the psychiatrist's Makata, it's up there, right? If you are talking about psychologists, it costs about 80 to 150 US dollars per hour to see a psychologist. But if you are working with PK, so these were the comparisons that we made. If you're supporting 10 people on PK, it costs us $50 to support one child on PK, and $500 to support 10 children per month on PK. And if we're working with the $80 that it would cost for someone to see a psychologist, on AFOS rates, what it would mean that is that, 10 people per month is about $3,200 or more. It's a lot. So if you're saying 10 people $500, and 10 people $3,200, and the package of care is a story, video, individual counseling, journaling, and group session, 4 of those in 1 month for $50. And for 3 months, of course, 1.5, 6 months, 3,000, and after 12 months, 9,000. And you can see if you're going on the other side, just for 3 months you need $9,600, and for 6 months you need 19.2, and then at 12 months you need 38.4. So COVID taught us that digital health works, and it can be a lot cheaper than in-person care, especially when we're not dealing with acute cases where people are wanting to commit suicide, and we're actually doing more preventative work rather than, curative work. And I think right now the Ministry of Health and other, partners are talking about, we don't want institutionalization, and we don't want people to actually go to the very limited and few resources that we have, to crowd those because we did not sort of do the curative work. And so this is what, Positive Connections is proposing and offering, to say we can do it for a lot less, but also cover a lot more. Okay, please go back. Thank you. Right. So, as I already mentioned, $50 covers 1 child per month, and we need people to commit to sponsoring at least 500 to 1,000 children. And we offer, our packages of care are from 8, 12, 15, 18, 24 to 36 weeks, where we can support children. So we want to talk to you who are here to say, that $50 that you're just going to go and have lunch with, sponsor a child. Give one child a chance to be able to be seen and to speak to a psychologist and counselors that will sort of help and support them in the work that they need. Right. So why do we need support? We need to continue with our app development and maintenance. We need to do a bit more of outreach and marketing, so that people can see the work that we're doing. We need to continue monitoring and evaluating what we are doing. We need, counselor stipends or, salaries for our counselors. For now, we've had people that have been volunteering their time. We've been able to pay them in sometimes, and we've not been able to. But we would like to have a consistent and running program where they are also well catered for. We also need to produce our comic book and our, hardcover, a Positive Connections model that can also be able to reach people that don't have smartphones, especially in our rural communities. We also need to do research and data analytics. We also need to talk about, things like translation, because you find that a lot of our young people will also then say, I can't fully understand what we're saying in English. Let's, say it in Shona. Welcome, Mom. Thank you so much for coming. Right. So our plans for future growth, we want to expand our service reach. We want to enhance our app features, like I've said. We want to make strategic partners and partnerships, and which is why most of you are here to say, look, this is what we're doing, and we know you're doing some work in your fields as well, and we would like to partner so that we grow the work you're doing and the work we are doing. We are looking at sustainable growth and financial health. We know that, the donor community is struggling and thinking about other ways of building revenue and income to make our project sustainable so that it can continue going. We also want to work on, data analytics and national, regional, and global expansion. So right now, most of the young people that we've been supporting are in Harare. But we would like more than 52 districts in Zimbabwe. We would like, PK to be a household name where young people can actually access services and it expands. And then continue with our content development and education. What we've realized is we started with one issue on HIV, but now we're even expanding to thinking about, going to schools and bullying and all of those things that young people are facing on a day-to-day basis. So there's always continuous growth and continuous development because there are lots of mental health issues that need to be addressed that right now are not really fully being addressed. We've been awarded top innovator status by the World Economic Forum for being one of the top 13 or 14 mental health interventions globally that are supporting adolescents and young people. So that's something that we are really proud of. And also we've received an Ember Mentorship Award, and we've also received an Ember Seed Award. So our team that's been working on this, me, of course, Vongai Munatsi, the clinical psychologist. We've got Happy Mare, who's our IT specialist. Lavien Gwerume, who's our administrator. Kudzaima Sukusa, youth engagement. Lizzie Kurebwaseka, she's our HR and our program coordinator. We've got Adrian Sharif, who's the creative designer, and a lot of the comic book and the pictures you've been seeing, it's Adrian. Defin Mazarura, our communications and marketing. Moses Ngwerume, the application and web development. And we've got our Positive Connections ambassadors, who are youth with lived experiences. And these young people help to develop the intervention, and then they also provide facilitation and peer support to their peers on the app. So thank you so much for listening. Those are our contact details, and I'm sure we will continue to talk about Positive Connections.
Ahoy, my young people, ahoy. Okay, so my name is Tanyaradzwa, and jataura more about Positive Connections and how it helped me and it. So I've used Positive Connections for 4 months, and Positive Connection made a positive change for the better in my life. Ahoy, my young people, ahoy. That it made a positive change for the better, because I was struggling with issues which I was affecting my mental health, and it didn't just say but this application interventions and it's using real-time technology, whereby it's using visual audio materials, because us as young people, we are glued to internet and we can easily understand more things through kuona nekunzwa. And it helped me because you open up when you are facing my challenges or my issues online, because I want face-to-face intervention yekuti maybe ndichazojudgwa kana kuti ndikaona vongai at a facility or at a clinic, because anopinda na mama wangu church or anoenda na mama wangu church, I can't be open up as a young person. Kune mamwe issues zvinoramba zvichindidya moyo as a young person and it. Then I also like the part of referral pathway, which is in the within the application, whereby it's not just focusing on mental health, it's also touching on issues of HIV testing, counseling, and also other health interventions which might be affecting young people. And it's a referral pathway, you go to be linked to other services, not just mental health, the sexual reproductive health, zikuti affect, and we might be facing issues that affect mukati as my young people, because but through Positive Connections in the team, we are linked to other services which helped me as and have improved health and well-being and it. Then through the group discussions conducted by the counselors, you will see kuti unosvika palevel rekubva pane izvo zvachiku affecta, because you will see kuti like story yangu inini ndisiri ndega ndakaita se ndakairarama, but through the peer-to-peer conversation you address my issues are kuku-affecta and you'll be able to cope effectively with stress because wanzwa story yemumwe mudiki through my group discussions angaita se anga achitaurwa story yemumwe ayakamu-affecta and you will then learn how to address or to cope effectively pane zvinhu zvinenge zvichikunetsa, and it helped me as an individual because I started to live today with the future in mind. Unongwambosvika pakuluza hope kuti amana maybe let me venture into something, maybe drug and substance abuse, maybe kuita zvinhu zvinoaffecta health yangu, issues dzana mujolo, trying to address my issues akuti ase ari kuaffecta, but the emptiness which was in me was solved and addressed by positive connections.
My name is Patience Matambudzeni. I am a young mother. I am 20 years. I lived with HIV positive for 20 years. So I was struggling with that because I didn't have any friends. Time yese ndaida kuita kana shamwari ndikangomudza status yangu ndakutozara kana muclassmates yakutozara kana mumarain mese. Saka with the positive connect, it helped me to engage with other people without stigmatizing myself, without saying I'm not enough and kwase kuenda pane vamwe nekuti ndiri HIV positive. And it helped me kuti ndikwanise kubata mwana wangu zvakanaka because ndaiti inini ndakazadzwa namai vangu ndozadzwa futi mwana wangu. Saka zvakandibatsira pama counseling sessions ataita, pama group session, especially my group sessions, aiwa unozoona kuti inini ndiri kuti ndine problem yakati but yangu inenge tori nani pane yaningi, ndopaunonyazorealize kuti inini ka I don't have a problem but I have to move on with my life and live a positive way. Thank you.
Already, especially Ndova Kuruangi Baba. Imagine having a life that is full of ups and downs. As a minor, you're trying to figure out what is life. Already life is giving you hard blows. You are restricted, you have got no friends, you have got no life at all, but you think you've got a life. You can't go out to play with others. You can't tell others that I want to be your friend. Because if you do, normally your skin is already telling you that, is telling them that you are HIV positive or you have got something that is going on with you. Imagine the trauma. We are talking of someone who is 5 years and he's trying to build a life. He's trying to understand that I have to go to school, but there is no school without friends. Do we agree? Thank you. I've got your attention now. So I go by the name Tendai Wekwavoro, a happy father of one. I'm so happy to announce you to that. I am a father, a proud father. My life was so difficult, like I have mentioned, without positive connections. I met few people that I thought they would really understand me, that would be my friends. But like Flex have mentioned, you know, you always come to a point that people would start judging you again. You would have tell them that these are my friends, these are my people. At least I can confide in them. But when it comes to some point, they would start judging you. They would start giving you blows which you're getting outside of the world. So when I met positive connections, I started, you know, with the fear that maybe it's still the same, like what I suffered from the world. But I used positive connections, hanging my real feeling, thinking that maybe one guy would be like others that I've met before, that maybe I would get my story to someone that I don't want to hear my story. So I started with the birthing of a hero. I used it, truly speaking, when I used it, I hold my emotions. I gave wrong impression at first, thinking I'll be judged again. But while I was using it, I began to feel the anger inside. That anger was not to Ongai, it was to my mother. Because I was saying she is the reason why I had no friends. She is the reason why at school I would just go to learn, and after that I would rush back home, go indoors again. So when I used it, I started, getting to the attachment. The attachment was becoming real with the positive connections. And after that, I started going on the group sessions, like they mentioned, yeah, people telling you their stories. Yeah, some said you would see that your story is better, but I've never seen my story better. I always seen it worse. But it only became better when I went to the story of Lion King Mufasa. I loved that story because it allowed me to understand that, yes, it's not my fault to be who I am. I did not apply it. Yes, I had no friends, but I cannot hold on the grudges of the back. So I have to make sure that I can move on, accept reality, move on and be a man of honor. Allow me to say positive connections have been the best to me, and like I've mentioned, I have got a negative, handsome young man. He is growing very well, thanks to positive connections.
Imo Chaurura. I'm representing the Secretary for Health and Child Care. Um, here's another commitment, I think, in Parliament. So he first of all spoke with Dr. Patience. She's the Deputy Director in charge of mental health. Then Dr. Patience read through and she said, but this thing is so ICT. It's so digital. Let me look for someone that can actually go and represent the both of us, both Dr. Patience and Dr. Maunganidze. And so I'm representing two giants, and I'm the third one. Thank you very much. To Wangai, I think this is profound. It's really an innovation. Just a brief question. Are you in the alumni for one of the IVLPs? I don't know where I met her. Distinguished people like her, normally they get invited for certain scholarships certain places where you meet and you also discuss, you have a world view of what it is. So I was in one of these into the United States of America in 2023. I think I spent a month because of the digital health impact that we made in the public health sector. We're taken to a tour of the United States of America, all the states. We went around them and meeting also important people and people that had other things to share with us and people from other countries. And if I were the one who was giving a chance to such programs, I would really definitely give one to Wangai. So, good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to join you today for the official launch of Positive Connections, a groundbreaking digital health and mental health platform developed by Renewal Trust, I'm told. And on behalf of the Minister of Health and Child Care and the Department of Mental Health specifically, I wish to express our heartfelt congratulations to Renewal team for this remarkable initiative that marks a new chapter in advancing mental health support for the young people across Zimbabwe. Mental health is a fundamental part of our overall well-being. It shapes how we think, feel, act, and how we cope with the challenges of life. I think we've seen from the testimonials that have been said here, yet it remains one of the most misunderstood and neglected areas of health, particularly among adolescents and young adults. In our community today, many young people are silently battling anxiety, depression, substance abuse, HIV/AIDS related distress, and suicide. Life psychologists for 17 million people. Definitely that's an unfair, comparative. It's an injustice to the community. So if the 35 are available for 17 million, definitely you know that they are only available to those that have got the money, those that they can afford them. And what of our young people? They are left really to wander and roam the streets. By using technology, this platform extends the reach of mental health support to young people wherever they are at any time. This is where really I get so excited to Ongai. I think as Minister of Health and Childcare, we are extending an olive branch to say, if in terms of hosting the application and in terms of supporting the application for sustainability, you can lean on us. And as the director for ICT, I actually mean my words. We have had so many innovations that we come up with, and for lack of takers in space such as yours, the applications are lying idle. But in this case, we've got the reverse. We've got takers for the application. We have got a population that needs the application, but we don't have sustainability. So government is really coming strong here to say, we can partner, we can give you the sustainability that you need, and we can also help you spread this in more of the events that we also, carry out as Minister of Health and Child Care, so that we really reach all the young people where they are. I'm also more interested in the zero rating. Some models of zero rating imply that a philanthropist from somewhere can come and pay for the SMSs, and then the youths can access the SMSs for free. Those are the models that also allow development. It allows the mobile network operators to also get something and create jobs there, but at the same time, you're also giving access to the young people who ordinarily do not have this access. So let's innovate around that, and my department is available to actually help you navigate this place, and even to collaborate in other areas where we think young people need really to be engaged. This initiative, let me say, aligns closely with the Minister of Health's vision to integrate mental health into primary health care and ensure that every Zimbabwean can access care without fear, shame, or stigma. So primary health care is the mainstay of the healthcare system in Zimbabwe. This means that healthcare must be available in the communities where our people live. So do these young people not live in a community? They do. And are we giving them the services that they want? We are not. So this is one of the interventions that is really meeting the gap that is there in our primary healthcare package. We now boast of positive connections thanks to the work that's done here. So this is commendable, to say the least. It reflects dedication, it reflects innovation, it reflects compassion. I was listening to you as you were speaking. You are so compassionate about, this idea. And there's so much philanthropic work that has gone into this, so much that has not been paid for, so many hours that have been volunteered. We value that. And this is lying at the heart of effective community mental health practice. And as the platform grows, we believe it will evolve into a national digital hub for youth mental health, connecting thousands of young people, creating awareness and promoting early intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, when we invest in mental health, we invest in people, in their potential, in their families, in the strength of our communities. Your name is what? Tawanda? Tendai. He is proud, is a proud father of one. So in other words, investing in Tendai translated immediately into investing in a family. This is what we are saying. This is what history we are making. This is the impact that we are making with positive connections. The Ministry of Health and Child Care, through the Department of Mental Health, remains committed to working with Renewal Trust and all partners here today to ensure that no young person faces psychological distress alone. No young person gets left behind. Ika inovakwa nema young persons. Adijere? Yes.
Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this morning to, of course, Dr. Vongai. Thank you for taking the time to launch this program and invite us. I'm trying to get my presentation. To Mr. Rura from the Ministry of Health and Technology, something like that. You're so young and yet so wise. And thank you for putting your weight behind Dr. Vongai and their initiative and their team. I think that's the main impeding factor for them, that support financially and support from government, civic society, and the private sector. And of course, we as a church will support and will definitely try to get, I'm talking about our congregation, but I will have a word with the president of the Evangelical Fellowship from Zimbabwe to maybe get a chance for you to present this to the executive that reaches 10 provinces, and they will see the value in that. Right now, back to find my presentation. We are living in a very challenging time globally, not just here. In the nation of the United States, I was just there a few weeks ago. Violence is on an all-time high. There are so many young people getting killed that doesn't make sense. It's basically a drug war, gang war, unfortunately, especially amongst our people, African Americans. I was just in South Africa, Cape Town and Johannesburg, in Reka Park, a suburb of Johannesburg. Drug and human trafficking has precipitated gang violence and killings every single day. They actually have a radio channel that reports on the spot killings every day. Manenberg in Cape Town is ridiculous. Reka Park and Noordhoek is ridiculous. The number of unbelievable killings. A lot of it has to do with stress, unemployment, and a lack of engagement from government, civic society, and the private sector. But innovation, science, and technology in Africa is significantly advancing, and transformative new ways to constitute leadership in these areas is emerging. And so for this particular initiative, which is so essential, I had our conference 2 years ago. That's the first time I learned through Dr. Chirisa that I was mentally ill, that I had mental challenges. Gigi tells me that every day beginning with T, that's today, tomorrow, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But again, we don't see the challenges that people have. We only, as a church, meet people 2-3 hours in a week, and everybody puts on their best face, and we don't generally see their challenges. But we are right behind you in this. We will do our part in supporting and sponsoring, and we are definitely a shoulder you can lean on. To the entire team, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for standing behind Dr. Vongai. She's extremely passionate, any story in the Bible, no matter which story it is, she will link it to mental illness, from Goliath to David to Noah to even Jesus on the way to being crucified. But we thank you for your passion, and we pray that we pray that the University of Zimbabwe will create space and opportunities for more psychiatrists and psychologists, and that maybe more scholarships could be awarded through the Ministry of Health, Science and Technology, especially for this particular field. 35 and 19 is definitely way below the quota of what's needed. But if scholarships can be afforded, maybe through the private sector, we'll do our part. We'll have a chat with people like V. Candy, Barry Manandi, and others who are on radio, to get you on radio, get you on television, and let this become sort of a national awareness program that this is available, and perhaps generate sponsors, well wishers to stand behind you. But again, from us, congratulations, well done, God bless you. It's needful for something that begins, that has a benefit for the human family, to be blessed and prayed for. When God made humanity, He made humanity, mankind, in His image, after His likeness. Without preaching and without going too deep, since the fall of Adam, it's been Satan's agenda to discredit God's image in the earth and to discredit His likeness. So any initiative that is improving the image of God in the earth through better conditions, the enemy fights, and it's needful for us to stand behind that in continued prayer and an initial blessing, which we will do now. Heavenly Father, we thank you for Dr. Vongai and her amazing team, who have taken it upon themselves to identify a desperate need in healthcare in this nation, in this city, and in Africa. And you died, Jesus died with a crown of thorns, meaning that He had healthcare, mental challenges in His forte. There were many people that you healed, Lord, that you told them you are now not just healed, but you're in your right mind, and you gave some a sound mind. And I pray that for all the individuals involved here, and also the 35 and 19 throughout the nation, that they would be blessed, their shoulders would be broadened, and they would be given capacity. We pray for the well-being of our great country, Zimbabwe, for the high levels of stress caused by challenges with the socio-economic, political challenges, that it would lighten and ease. I pray for all the many tens of thousands of young people struggling with hypertension, struggling with stress, that would be eased by causing this country to prosper and the quality and value of life to increase. We bless this nation, we bless our leaders, we bless every doctor, we bless every psychiatrist, every psychologist, and we bless definitely this initiative. Thank you for your grace, thank you for your inspiration, and we say more, in Jesus' name, amen.
For these and more stories, tune in to Zim News Bit TV with Robert Tafumani.